Welcome everyone back to the ZBHO Dojo. So today, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to give praise and thanks to the masters of art and CG. And we are going to start with the ultimate god of art, Mr. Frazetta, St. Paul, St. Joseph, St. Ryan, and the Archangel Raphael. Thank you for your continued inspiration, education, and overall badassery. Today, I want to thank you for watching, first of all of you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, D-Live. We're on all those places, right? And I appreciate you watching. Today, we are going to be going over a friend's work. He's always been a super awesome supporter of me and Zbrush Hangout and the ZBHO Dojo, Ryan Frazier. And he's always been working hard, and he's never stopped. So I definitely want to help him out and get his anatomy kind of honed down a little bit. So he gave us a Sabertooth to work on, and something that he's putting together. And so we're going to go over that. We're going to work on, we're going to try to stream for about an hour and a half, and then we will call it. So if you have any questions or anything like that, definitely put them in the chat. I'd like to give a shout out to German Batista. That's one of the coolest names ever. For the follow, Danny Serrano, Aniket Play, Dom Duff, Ryloon, Spark, B. Briley. Thank you very much for following the channel and subscribing to the channel. And the university semester is over, so I just got to do a couple more things, and then I'll be able to start streaming a whole lot more for all of you. We're going to be finishing off that Batman that I started. If you're not on my Instagram or any of that other stuff, you really should. All right, it's that Spicer CG. We're going to be finishing off a Batman to send over to Eric Askew over at Worlds Overrun for him to basically engineer it for 3D printing and all that. So hopefully he'll be streaming that on his channel. But for right now, let's just get into it. All right? Let's just get into it. So this is Ryan Frazier's Sabertooth that he's working on. And again, I told him I would take a look at it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go over this anatomy real quick and try to help him out. If you have anything that you want me to sculpt over, make sure to follow my channels and all that stuff, and just hit me up. You know, let me know. Just be like, hey, do you need something to critique on your stream? Usually, you know, like once a week, I don't mind doing a critique, especially an anatomy critique. I think it's pretty valuable to everybody out there. So hopefully you enjoy what we're about to do. Okay, so Ryan Frazier, we are going to start somewhere. I know you haven't had a chance to work on this fully, but we're just going to get some basic forms, rhythms, flows going. We're not going to be going deep diving into a lot of the sculpture. There's no way in an hour and a half that I can get something super serviceable or super professional in like an hour and a half, especially on all the anatomy that we're going to be going through. So let's get into it. All right, so first thing I like to do is I like to polygroup these things. So right now you have everything polygrouped as 1, and you also have your resolution really, really high. What I would do is kind of bring that down a bit so that we can work with something a little bit more manageable, because we got a lot of big forms to correct here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Mask Lasso. That way I can get a little bit more organic selection of this. And what I'm doing is I am masking, and I am pressing Control W, and it's going to give me a polygroup for that masked area. All right, so Control W. Let's get this, and then we can get these legs and butt cheeks all And let's go with the knee as well, just so, for shits and gigs. And right there. And that's already polygrouped. But let's get this and let's auto group it. So we have that. Okay, so now everything's polygrouped and now we can work on it bit by bit. So let's start off with the leg. A lot of people have some major problems with their legs. They don't really know what's going on, especially around the knee area and what's happening with the calf. So if y'all don't mind, if there's, in the chat, if you want to see me work on something else or focus on something else, put it down in the chat. Watching it. It seems like the only one I have access to is Facebook for some reason. So that kind of sucks, but I am watching the Twitch over here on Streamlabs. So if you're on Facebook or Streamlabs, feel free to, put down in the chat if you want me to focus on a certain area, and then hopefully we can get that down for you. All right, so let's start with this this leg. So this is going to be your quads, and let's go over these major muscles. Okay, so we have the rectus femoris going straight up and down, and then we have the vastus medialis on the side, on the inner thigh, and then vastus lateralis on the outside. And to wrap everything down, we've got our sartorius and then our tensor fascia latae that's coming off of our hip. So what this is lacking overall is a really solid hip structure. You can see it's kind of, let's get rid of these arms real quick. You can see it's very wide and it's very boxy. So what I would like to see is, let me turn off this, and let's turn off color information because we don't really need it for anatomy critiques. So I'd like to see some type of hip here and diving down. Having some type of tensor fascia latae here, right there. Having the sartorius come off of that same angle, and let's get this. I'm pressing Control Shift X so I can grow my selection a little bit more, and I'm gonna wrap this around and attach it to the side of the knee. Okay. After that, we need our adductors, which are going to allow us to, adduct our, or abduct our leg towards the center, or I'm sorry, adduct our leg towards the center. And we also need a break for the biceps femoris, which is the lateral side of your hamstrings, and then your semitendinosus, which is the medial side, right? So we have this big hamstring right here, and then it splits off on each side to go towards, this one's going towards our tibia, which is going to attach right around there. And then this biceps, semitendinosus is going to attach to the head of the tibia right here. Okay. But so we have the tensor fascia latae, and then we have the sartorius right here. So in between those two, we should have a nice, especially for someone that's this physically developed, they will have a kind of like a dip right in there going around. Is everybody able to hear me all right on in Facebook land, Twitch land? Sounds coming through. And so then we need our vastus latae or medialis right here. And this is going to come down to the head of our patella, right, or our kneecap. And so this one should be on the outside, and it should have a oblique angle in terms of its hit. So what I mean by that is the way it's going to go down into the head of our tibia. Okay. And let's just overall kind of fix this leg shape because it's a little super thick, and it's easier to get our forms down first, and then we can start sculpting in all this stuff. Okay, so getting my standard brush out, and we need a lot of art, and especially anatomy is all about contrast. So we've got this, we've got this meaty organic shape, and we kind of need to contrast it with the very box-like nature or hard surface nature of the tendons and joints. So bring this down, okay? And so the knee is not the entire knee, okay? That's the head of your patella or the head of your knee should be a very small part of this, okay? And then we're going to have the patella ligament going down to our tibia, okay? And then the vastus medialis can come down to the very top of the patella. It's not going to attach to it, but I mean in terms of its length, you can safely bring it to the head of the patella, and you should be fine, especially in a blockout. Okay, so we have the tensor fascia latae. It's a little bulky here. It's a little stringy. So I'm going to fix that, and we're going to put that right around there. And if you've been watching my stream, you know that my computer used to freeze up a lot. So what I did is I replaced the processor just yesterday. So hopefully we don't have that going on anymore. And thankfully, AMD processors are super, super cheap. I got it on Amazon for like $213, 12 by 24 at 3.8. So it was definitely a good deal. It's basically the same processor I had before, but my water cooler failed on me, and ever since then my processor's been real sticky and like, I don't know, like chugging along, which I don't really enjoy. So got it replaced. Christmas present to myself. Is anyone else upgrading their computer for Christmas? Because if you're a freelance artist in America, there's no reason not to. You can just write that shit off. So make sure you upgrade your shit or get a new monitor or something, right? Treat yourself. So let's talk about the gastrocnemius or the calf. Okay, so yours is coming out and coming this way, right? And it's going in almost reaching the front of our patella right here. And so let's talk about the anatomy of that. So we have our femur here, and we've got epicondyles on each side, and they're coming from here and then wrapping. They're coming from here and attaching to an aponeurosis or a sheet of tendon right here. So we need to kind of give that impression. So we need to come from here and then let it wrap around. And the gastrocnemius is not going to come all the way out here. It's going to be regulated right around there. Okay. And here, again, coming from behind the knee and then wrapping around and then becoming the Achilles tendon. But the gastrocnemius is actually going to end up here. Okay, the actual muscles, and then it's just going to attach to a tendon. So whenever you have muscle and then it attaches, oh, look, there's Princess. Everybody say hi to Princess. Level Dead. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate you, brother. If you are not on it, well, first off, be on Twitch, and then make sure to follow Level Dead. He does a lot of miniatures, gamings. Are you still doing a variety, or are you just focusing on miniatures and sculpting now? But yeah, you would play games, Dungeons and Dragons, sculpting, gaming, and all that good stuff. So make sure to go follow him. He's a really hard worker, really good guy. And definitely deserves y'all's support. So go help him out. All right. So we have the gastrocnemius, right? Which is ending over here. It should have an oblique angle. So this one should be a little bit lower than this one, 9 times out of 10. Of course, there is symmetry in anatomy, but not very often. So it's better to err on the side of uniqueness than symmetry. Okay, so we have the Achilles tendon being extremely neutral, going extremely, so you have the muscle and then you have the tendon, and it's basically going to neutralize itself. It'll react to muscles underneath it, but it's not actually going to create a new form. It's going to neutralize what it's been attached to and where it's from where it's originated to and where it's attaching to. So we have the calf here, but now we're missing the soleus, which is going to be a whole new muscle. It's going to come down and it's going to fill out our calf. A lot of people think this is part of the calf. It's not, or the gastrocnemius, I'm sorry. And it's not. It's going to fill in this area here. And same on this side. It's going to fill in that area. Let me get this a little bit further down, okay? And then your ankles, you're going to have the higher one on the inside, and you can pretty much follow it along the tibialis right here. Hey, Sukwant, thanks for stopping by. Make sure to give Sukwant Suk a follow, too, and a friend on Facebook. He's done some work for me, did a great job, and yeah. And he's available for freelance, so go pick him up. So we have the tibialis is going to have a natural curve, and then it's going to end here at our ankle, right? And so we need to have that, and it's basically going to connect these two. So you should have that, and then you'll have your calf come out here, and then your soleus coming down there and going behind our ankle, right? So the ankle is going to be right here, going to tie in there. So that way, you know, this needs a little bit more sculpting, but you should be able to see the calf and the soleus separately, especially for someone like this, right? So coming down right there. And there's plenty of things I can fix and all this stuff. I don't really want to spend the entire hour and a half on just the leg or just the gastrocnemius, because we can surely do that. Okay, so let's work on the upper leg. So what we need is we need our landmark, which is a greater trochanter, which is basically right here on our hip. You can feel it right there. It's that little bony bit right there. And a lot of muscles are going to and originating from here. So we have the vastus lateralis, which is going to be the outside of your thigh. Say it with me. Vastus lateralis. All right? Not the outside of the thigh anymore, all right? Smarten up. So we have the vastus lateralis coming down, and it's not going down to the patella, right? We should have an oblique angle from the vastus lateralis going up to the vastus medialis going up to the vastus lateralis, right? And we should have the rectus femoris splitting these two and coming down, and it's going to attach directly to our patella, right? And again, like we said earlier in the stream, whenever it becomes a tendon, we're not going to give it form. We're going to neutralize the shape that is coming from and attaching to, okay? So I don't want to see a big old bulk right here where there's tendon. All right, if I see that, you're going to be in my class for the gallery abominant on what not to do with a leg, how not to sculpt a leg. So you better make sure you're following the stream. If you haven't followed the stream, and especially if you're on YouTube, you better subscribe, all right? 68% of my views come from people who are unsubscribed. Pathetic. Pathetic. All righty. So we're going to fix all that. There's, you know, we're just going to slowly put this together because this leg needs a lot of work. So it's going to take a little bit of time. All right. So what I'm looking at right now is that bit that I put in there. So I'm going to try to fix that. Make sure this is on the inside. And then we'll have the abductors right here. And right now what I want to put in is the soleus, because it's kind of going around whenever it should, and it's not really defined at all. So we're just going to clean that line up. And it's going to go under and around our vastus lateralis. And we're also going to fix this form because there's really not much going on the side of the groin, especially for someone that's this physically well-trained. We're just not going to have a lot of fat there. All right, so it's going to go around, and then it's just a little bit too bulky, so I'm going to kind of level it out a little bit. All right, and if you're just joining the stream, we're going over a follower's work and kind of fixing and helping them with their anatomy. If you are a follower of the channel or a subscriber of the channel and you'd like me to critique some of your work, please feel free to hit me up on Facebook, and we'll see what we can do. Because the university is over, and I definitely want to spend a little bit more time hanging out with you all here on here streaming. All right, so the next thing is that the knee is not really a curve. It's going to have the head of the patella, and you can kind of sculpt that as a shield. So you'll have, right there. We'll flatten this out. And let's dig around it because it's just a little bit too bulky. So we can have a knee kind of like that. All right, so that's your actual knee. All right, your knee is not this whole area. And so this patella is going to have a patella tendon, or I'm sorry, ligament here. And we need to make sure it's the highest point here, because it's coming directly here and then going down to what's called your knee. So whenever you're kneeling down, praying or sweeping or cleaning up a mess or whatever, you're actually kneeling on this specific area of your tibia. So it's called your kneeling bone. Right? And then we need to have a little bit more depth here. So I'm getting our anterior tibialis and making sure that's coming around the front of the ankle. And it should be, most of the meat should be up here. And then it's going to become a tendon, vastus lateralis. Yeah. All right. And then we're going to bring that out on the side, right? And coming down. And then we'll have a nice bit of complexity here, right? So it's not just a squiggle or just a something like that. It's it has form, right? So now what we need to do is we need to put in this patella tendon, which this is going to stretch as opposed to a ligament. Ligament is pretty much like a steel bar. You can think of it that way, where it's not going to move or stretch. I mean, it'll move, but it won't stretch out like a tendon will, right? So we've got that. And here, I don't really like this boop. And then coming out, so I'm going to flatten it a little bit, smooth it out. And we should have like a ledge, and then it should come down like that. So what I mean by that is bringing this hamstring a little bit further down and then letting it split to each side, right? So you can see how it's going around each side. And this biceps femoris, which is the lateral side of your, the lateral side of your leg, the hamstring, should be coming out and attaching to the head of our fibula right here. So if you just feel the outside of your leg, you're going to feel the head of your tibialis, and then if you just keep going to the right, you're going to feel this little notch, or the xiphoid process or styloid process of the fibula, right? So that's going to come down and attach kind of right there. And so we kind of need to support that. Let me see. We need to support that right there. Have it go down, head of fibula, right there. Okay. And probably another thing that we can fix is we can bring this back a bit more. So that way we have the, I forgot what this one, I always forget this one. fibularis longus, I think it is. But it's going to come down and it's going to go around the ankle, right? So it's going to be this this muscle, but it's kind of straight. So we don't want to have it come out like the calf. You can see how it's kind of coming out like that. I want it just a little bit straighter than that. And that way the calf can come out from there. And we have some depth to our sculpt. And it's not just a cylinder. It has many levels to it. Okay. Alrighty. And then our foot is going to be, it's going to have most of the peak up here, and then it's going to dive down after that. Okay. And then on the outside, we should have a shelf. So it should go down to a shelf right here and come out that way. Okay. And a little bit of an instep here that's going to come from your ankle and give you a little instep right there. Okay. And we can give a little bit more of an ankle, just a little bit. So you can see this looks a little bit better. I'm going to kind of fix the overall forms of this. Let's look around. All right, let's fix that. Get that going. Get this, move it over. And so what I usually do is I usually just like sculpt in the anatomy, and then I go around and make sure it looks good, because you can sculpt anatomy very correctly, very mechanically, and it's going to look boring, right? So there's a point where we have to become an artist instead of a technician. So even though I've sculpted in all this leg anatomy, we still need to go through and make it look appealing. And again, we only have like an hour and a half for today's stream. I will be streaming every Wednesday on XMD on their Twitch. So make sure to, if you're on Twitch right now, go to XMD. I will be doing more of these student critiques and answering questions, and possibly giving away a free ticket to my course, which is on XMD right now. You're about to watch a commercial for it. Why? Because it's a great commercial.
And you feel that? Do you want to be the best? Do you? You want to take balls and turn them into champions? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to go through Keyshot, Marmoset, Unreal? Look, more balls, all types of balls. And now what is it? It's a superhuman earthworm named Jim. All of this, look, feet. How many tutorials have you seen that go over feet and laser guns within the same tutorial? None. And now, got him. All of this, dragons, female anatomy, male anatomy, ninja swords. What else do you want? You want something magical? I'll even teach you how to sculpt magic. Now you need to sign up for this course right now. Go up to the XMD Academy and sign up for Character Creation for Collectibles by Spicer McLeroy now.
And we're back. All right, so let's finish off. Let's see. Let's fix this little gastrocnemius right here. It can look a little sexier. So let's kind of look at the form of this this upper thigh. So most of the bulk should be coming from here in terms of the profile, and then it should be tapering down into our tendon. Okay, we should have a little bit more of a ledge here for the difference between the vastus. What is it? What did we say it was? Put it down in the chat. What's the name of this muscle? 3, 2. Vastus lateralis. Vastus lateralis. Bastardus lateralis. Close. Very close level. Very, very close. God damn, you're fucking talented. Whew. All right. So I like to make sure that there is a definitive ledge here, definitive hunk of meat, and then have a little bit of like a spearhead here. And it's going to vary from person to person. Some people will have, you know, a dip right there, something like that. So I would look at the variance of life for that, you know. And I'm just teaching you like the basics of anatomy, right? And it's just to really help you understand where these muscles are coming from and going to, and also to be able to analyze what you're actually looking at. So instead of just, oh, okay, there's a shadow there, you can say, oh, that's where the bicep is intersecting with the anterior head of the deltoid, and I can see that little flatness right there, and that's a tendon of the bicep, you know, like all this stuff that you can start analyzing. And it's kind of like if you're going to be a musician and not understand how to read music, right? If you're going to be a character sculptor, you need to be able to read anatomy. You need to at least know the names of what is important to you as a sculptor. And you can do all that with my course. Alrighty. So tensor fascia latae, a little bit more of the vastus lateralis. And there we go. Okay, so it's not perfect, of course. Of course, it's not perfect. We only have an hour and a half. I will be streaming later on with my own work, and heading to the gym, and then I got to get to Sculpting. Great stream. Thank you, Level Dead. Make sure you clang and bang, brother, all right? Make sure you get your reps in. Whenever you hear that heart beating, right? That's a heartbeat of a champion. It's a heartbeat of a fucking champion. So you just keep pulling. You keep clanging and banging. I want to see an extra 5 pounds of muscle on you by the end of next year. All right? And have a good workout, brother. Yeah. Me and Leo, he's streaming now as well. Thunderstorm Art. Yeah, brother, definitely swing by, Level. I'd appreciate it for sure. Me or Leo and I, we are working out Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's great. I love it. I love working out. Especially like on the days that you don't feel like doing something, and then you know that the other person's just going to make fun of you if you call in. So then you just get there. But like as soon as you start working out and get going, it's like, man, I'm so glad I'm here. You know, it's just an initial push. And if you do that enough, then it's just like, man, I know I don't feel like doing it, but as soon as I get there, I'm going to feel like it. And I'm going to feel way better. So, yeah. If you're an artist and you're not moving around, definitely get your ass up and fucking move around. All right? Alrighty. So, we kind of fix that leg. Let's duplicate this and let's go back to the original and click Shift S, and then we can see what we came in with. Right? So we're adding a whole lot more dimensionality to this leg. The tensor fascia latte and this hip up here, just disregard that. But all this other stuff, especially the knee, we're giving a little bit more shape to it, and to the calf as well. So, and again, this is done in 30 minutes, people, all right? Stagnation. 3D, yes, sir. If you're into sculpting, collectibles, or any of that stuff, you're at the right spot. Okay, so let's go back to where we were, and let's just delete other, because we don't really need any of that other stuff right now. Okay, so let's talk about artistic neo soul. Hey, Spicer, geez, how many sculpts are you working on your sculpting machine? Thank you very much, brother. This is Ryan Frazier's Sabertooth. I asked him if I could critique it on my stream. He's always been very generous with allowing me to do that. And yeah, I just wanted to do him a solid, because he's always working really hard and putting in a lot of time. And I just want to make sure that I can give him the information that he needs to make it so he can spend less time and accomplish more, right? So let's talk about the torso. Let's get a drink of water. Stagnation, is this for a game? No, this is for a collectible. Games, I usually only do like high poly and then send it off to someone to do the low poly. Or the client themselves will have someone that they outsource that to. And so I just work on high poly stuff. Although, you know, I know how to model and all that stuff, but I just, taking it all through the pipeline is just, it's not for me, brother. Not for me. Bernie, thanks for stopping by, brother. I appreciate you. So let's talk about this this torso. It's just a little bit too bulky in the wrong places. Okay, so I gotta go stream. You have no links. Stagnation. Twitter is Shotgun Scream. Twitch is Shotgun Scream. Facebook and Instagram is Spicer CG. Hopefully that'll work for you. Spicer CG. Let me give you that. And I appreciate you asking. And it's something I definitely need to be better on. Yeah, but this is me on Instagram, Spicer CG. Right there. And then my art station is Shotgun Scream. My Twitch is Shotgun Scream. And then my Gumroad is Spicer CG as well. And all I do is post art and maybe one picture of myself every 4 or 5 years. So it's strictly art. It's strictly sculpting and twitching and all that stuff. You know, He-Man, all that good stuff, right? So definitely stop on by. Yeah. Follow me. I'll follow you. I'm not new to DLive. Whenever I stream, I always stream to DLive, but it's just, you know, just not, I don't know. I guess I gotta stream more, so it puts me in the Discover category for sure. All right, so here the connection to the sternum right here. You can see how it's kind of puffing along with your chest. And the sternum is pretty much a flat plane going obliquely. You know, like, so if this is our neck, it's coming out obliquely and then coming back, right? So, and there's no muscle that goes over it. There's muscle that, you know, comes together and covers it, or at least pushes the skin like it is, but there is no actual muscle going over the sternum. So we need to make sure that that is pretty much skin and bone. So that way you can get a nice deep depression in here, and then you can sculpt over all this stuff. But what you're missing are the 3 heads, all right? 1, 2, 3 heads of the pectoralis, right? That is the clavicular, the sternal, and then the thoracic. Okay, so I'm going to mark that in. you're going to have your clavicular coming in here, and you really shouldn't see a shelf right here for the clavicle. I mean, you can take a look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. The only place that you can see his clavicle is in between his clavicular head and the anterior head of the delt. So you'll only be able to see it right here. And then the rest is pretty much just covered over with muscle, right? So that's a clavicular head right here. The next is the sternal head. So that's just going to go from the very top of your sternum to, or not the top of your sternum, but right underneath the head of your clavicle, which is right here, right? And then it's going to attach to your sternum right there. There's the head of your sternum, or the manubrium, right? The manubrium's right here. We'll talk about that in a second. So we can safely bring this over right around there, smooth it out. And then we're going to have this final head coming over. Let's see where your arm is, right? So it should be going over over your bicep, right? And coming over here. And we'll talk about this in a second, all right? And then you're going to have your thoracic head, which is going to be coming down here. This is the end of your sternum, so it should look like that. And then you'll have the thoracic head underneath. Okay. After that, we need to mark in the anterior head. So right now, your shoulder is just going into your chest. They should be two different forms, all right? And your shoulder is always going to be halfway down your arm, where it's going to end halfway down your humerus. Okay. And so we should have two forms. And no matter how muscular someone gets, especially if they get thinner, then this landmark is going to be even more apparent. And it's called your acromion process. It comes, it's attaching to your clavicle right here. And it's very flat. So it shouldn't be bulky, right? It should be flat. And that way your shoulder can come out from it and it can look even bulkier, right? So boom, 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 boom. Right? And like I said, life, art is all about contrast. So I have this flat area and now I have this organic area coming out of it. And then we have the anterior head of our deltoid, the lateral head right here, and the posterior head attaching directly to the corner of our scapula. So you can pretty much go from the acromion process and give an oblique angle and then go down. Okay, and that's going to be the block out of your scapula right here. And your scapula, you can kind of represent as pretty much a flat plane to block it out, right? Not to finish it off, but to block it out. I would suggest giving it a flat plane here. Okay, something like that. And let's trace out the rear delt. All right, so it's going to come around something like that. And it's going to attach here, but the muscle is going to end here, and then it's going to be aponeurosis, which is a sheet of tendon, right? And what happens from muscle to aponeurosis? A neutrality of form, right? So we have the head of the rear delt, which is attaching to an aponeurosis, and from there, it's just going to neutralize to the blade or the spine of the scapula right here. And then you can just smooth it out. Okay, but that's roughly what it should be acting like. Okay. Next, we can probably bring this out a bit right there. Okay, and let's see, coming over right here. anterior delt right there, having your pectoralis going here. And I would probably say that this is kind of stretched out. It's a little bit too far back. And there's just the serratus muscles don't act like this. They don't act like squares. So I'm gonna smooth that out, and I kind of want to block out my rib cage, right, or the thoracic arch. So for a male thoracic arch, which is the our head of our sternum, manubrium, sternum, and then xiphoid process at the very end, and then our rib cage opens up, right? So that's called your thoracic or costal arch, and that's kind of what I want to mark in here is the rib cage, because it's very just so important that your rib cage is locked down whenever you're doing a torso. It is so important. So you can see how it's a little bit bulky over here, and then it goes straight this way, right? So you want to be careful of that. So just for time's sake, I'm just going to be working on this side for right now. All right. So here I want to kind of get the angle of this going on, and then we should have the oblique, and we should have the crown of the hip here. So your leg's just a little bit too thick up top because I can't put in our hip. Okay. And I'm going to smooth all this out so it's a little bit more form than detail. And I understand it's kind of hard to know when to get into the detail whenever your anatomies need some work or need some study. And it's kind of hard to be like, okay, I've got the form of, my bicep in, so now I'm going to go into the detail. So it's kind of hard to tell when you should do that because, you're lost. And so you're just like, okay, well, I'm just going to go into detail now. I mean, I'm not putting anyone down that's at that level because it's exactly what I did all the time. I was like, well, this is this is the end of my knowledge. Time to put in detail. And so, yeah, it's, I totally get it. All right, just putting in this oblique a little bit, trying to add a little bit more form. And the, this arm, let's work on this arm a bit. And what I'm going to do is just kind of block everything out first, and then we'll go into the forms and all that, okay? So I'm just going to smooth this out because we don't really need it. And what I'm doing is just continuously smoothing, but holding down shift and letting go of shift. And that's kind of getting rid of that peak right there. Bring everything back, redynamesh it. Smooth, redynamesh. Smooth. Okay. So let's talk about what's going on here. So whenever you have your arm bent this way, your tricep is being stretched because it's attaching to your elbow or your ulna at the end of your ulna. And so whenever you bend your arm, you're pulling your ulna down, which is going to grab onto this aponeurosis, which again is just a tendinous sheet. Okay. And it's going to grab onto your triceps, which are then going to be stretched and pulled. So whenever we have, whenever we're bending our arm, our bicep is having to do that. We're not using our tricep to do that. So when we do that, we activate the bicep and deactivate the tricep, right? So we shouldn't, if you're sticking to anatomy, of course, there's, artistic interpretation or whatever you want to call it. But, the more real it is, the more believable it is. So we want to activate our bicep and ensure that the tricep is kind of neutral. And your tricep has one shape to it. It has one curve. So what we need is a few more of those in here. So we need our lateral head. And again, like most things with anatomy, you're not going to have the tallest peak or the widest part straight across from each other. They're going to be at an oblique angle. So, like the calf, we're going to bring this type of shape in, and then it's going to go down into our olecranon, or our elbow right here, which is going to be a sharp point. So we need to add that in there and make sure that it doesn't need to be coming out, like a cartoon, but it needs to have a sharp angle, especially whenever you're bending that. Okay, so I'm just going to use a move brush, kind of move things around a bit, just so we can make it look a little bit more appealing. Okay, and then this bicep needs to go all the way up. Okay, and then this needs to wrap around the bicep. Your anterior head and your the heads of your pectoralis are attaching on the outside of your arm, so we need to give that impression. Okay, and your bicep is not this whole area; it's just this small area, kind of like what we were talking about with the patella that we have. That's just the front part, and then it's surrounded by everything else. So the bicep, and then we're going to have the brachialis on this side and the brachialis on that side, which is really going to give us that width of the bicep there. Right. So just going to re-dynamesh it, and this should be going up to our coracoid process, which is right underneath our chromium process. And that's kind of like the direction we should be going for whenever we're sculpting a bicep. Right? So you can kind of see why all these landmarks matter. Because instead of sculpting a bicep that's curved or, is just this huge lump, now we have the bicep, the brachialis, and now we're going to have the brachial radialis and all that good stuff coming into play. And it's going to really, really help us sell this sculpture in terms of literally and visually. So we need an egg on the side right here. So I'm going to kind of trace that out for you so you can. So we need an egg on the side with a lazy 9, right? Just going down to our olecranon. All right. So now you can see the dimensionality of this bicep as opposed to this big mass that has a crease in it, right? Now we have a bicep and brachialis on each side, and that's coming down into this brachialis is attaching to our ulna. So that's this bone right here that you elbow people with whenever they start talking mess, and you gotta check them. That's your ulna. Okay. So we have the brachialis coming around and diving down, and then we're going to have the brachial radialis. So let me trace this out for you. We have the end of, we've got the end of our deltoid that's ending halfway down our humerus, right? So we're talking about the bone. Okay. And so if we imagine the humerus in here attaching here and then coming straight down, we can probably move this entire arm forward a little bit and definitely shorten that. Okay, so we have a bone coming from here to there. And all right, Suquant, I will see you later. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Again, make sure to give Suquant Suk a follow and a like on Facebook and all that good stuff. Upcoming artist and hard worker. So if you're looking for, someone to do your freelance, he's worked for me. He's done a great job. So definitely check him out. Alrighty. So we have the tricep. I'm going to trace this kind of deliberately over trace it for you. So we have that tricep, this brachialis, right, which is going to be a tube. It's going to be a tube. Kind of like not like a tube as in perfectly cylindrical, but more of like a rounded bevel trapezoid, right? So a little bit more round, but it has that type of form, okay? So we have the tricep that's coming from there, actually. Actually, it's coming from here, actually. And figuratively. So we have the brachialis and the tricep. In between that is going to be the brachioradialis. And this, if you can feel it on the outside, these, whenever you hit your funny bone, that's this little nerve that's going around your epicondyle. You can feel it on the side. And there's another one directly adjacent from that, right? On the other side. And your brachioradialis needs to go to that. Alvin Serrano Cortez Sabertooth. Yeah, this is Ryan Frazier's Sabertooth. He allowed me to critique it, and we're just kind of going over and fixing the forms. So hopefully he can. It'll be a little bit easier for him to sculpt faster. So we're just sketching things in. We're not going in with a lot of proportions, but we are talking a lot about anatomy, just because we only have an hour and a half. All right. But thanks for stopping by, Alvin. I appreciate you. So we're going to go down for the brachioradialis, and we're going to go over and around. Okay. The hand is supinated, so like a bowl of soup, right? Supinate, pronate. Supinate, pronate. Okay. So your hand is supinated, but the connection points are pretty much going, they're going to be the same. It's just that it's a little rotated around. So that's the reason it's always important to kind of know what's going on with anatomy, so that whenever the body changes or you're sculpting it in motion, you can sculpt with confidence. All right. And then, like I was saying, the epicondyles on each side. So we're going to have the tricep coming down, attaching to the olecranon. And then we're going to have the brachioradialis. Let's get our move brush, kind of move that in a bit. Move that in. And we're going to bring this down. So it should be, let me get the right brush. We should all be originating from this epicondyle here. So all this bulk should be attached there, and it should be going straight down the palm is where all this should be flowing to. And again, if you're watching the stream and you have something that you want me to critique or something like that, then definitely hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, and just let me know that you've been watching the stream and wondering if I critique something, all right? And I'd be more than happy to go over that with you or for you, and all that good stuff. So just hit me up, all right? So we're going to have that epicondyle, and also we're going to have this muscle wrapping around and diving down into here, all right? So it's going to be there. And then we're going to have all this bulk right here, and then it's going to become tendon. So again, just like any other tendon, it's going to start neutralizing. So we need to have some type of contrast of form. So up here where all the meat is where it's going to be nice and round. And then where it's going down into the wrist, you can feel it. There's not a lot of muscle going on, right? So it should be quite rectangular, right? Quite rectangular around here. So I'm just going to block that in a bit. All right. A little bit more. And let me use my trim dynamic brush, and we'll just kind of put that in there. Boom, 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 boom. And then we can kind of neutralize those forms. Maybe a little bit too thin, or the thing is that it's just concave, right? So we need to straighten that out. And so now you can kind of see where all the muscles are going to be, okay? And before we finish this arm off, we're going to play a little something for you.
Can you feel that? Do you want to be the best? Do you? You want to take balls and turn them into champions? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to go through Keyshot, Marmoset, Unreal? Look, more balls, all types of balls. And now what is it? It's a superhuman earthworm named Jim. All of this, look, feet. How many tutorials have you seen that go over feet and laser guns within the same tutorial? None. And now, got him. All of this, dragons, female anatomy, male anatomy, ninja swords. What else do you want? You want something magical? I'll even teach you how to sculpt magic. Now you need to sign up for this course right now. Go up to the XMD Academy and sign up for character creation for collectibles by Spicer McLeroy now.
Right now! All right, so let's finish off this forearm real quick. All right, so flatten that out. Bring this over. And you can see how it's kind of curving in. We want a ledge to this. So I'm going to bring this out and over. All right, it should have at least that much bulk. And it looks kind of overpowered, and that's because we haven't put in all of our extensor muscles in yet. So this bulk form right here is all your flexor muscles, which allow you to squeeze your hand, right? And then extensor muscles allow you to spread your fingers and extend them, right? So I'm going to dive down. We're going to bring that over. Bring this over. Going to bring that down. And so we need kind of like, it needs to like explode from one area, which is your common extensor tendon, which is Alvin Serrano Cortez Jim Lee. What are you talking about, brother? Costume? Oh, I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh, I actually deleted everything else. I'm not sure. It was the yellow and brown one with the fur and the brown stripes on it, or slash marks or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So, and then we're going to come around here and make sure that that has form to it as well, right? So you can see how it's kind of, it doesn't look so underpowered, right? And there's still plenty of stuff that we need to do. All right, so you can feel this little bit right here on the outside anterior side of your wrist. This is called your xiphoid or styloid process, right? Yeah, styloid process. And that is a bone that goes directly down. You can feel it all the way down your forearm. You can feel that bone. It's pretty much straight, and there's no muscle that goes over it. So I'd like to see, let me put that back. I'd like to see a little bit more of a little bit of an indication of a bump right there. And then all you're going to do is just make a straight line going straight to your ulna, right? Ryloon, what is going on? Thank you for being here on the stream. Thank you very much. All right, so, and Leo, thank you for joining the stream. Make sure to follow Leo on Thunderstorm Art on Twitch. He's going to start streaming a whole lot more because I said so. No, he's a great guy, and he's definitely going to start kicking a whole lot more ass on Twitch and all that good stuff. So definitely follow him. He knows his anatomy, and he also is a really good 2D artist as well. And so, yeah, make sure you give him a follow. All right, so we have that right there. We can probably add a little bit more here. And let's just move all this back because it's just a little bit too puffy wuffy for me. Especially whenever you're supinating your hands like that, it's not going to be as bulky as whenever you pronate your hand. And this should all be on the direct side of it. And okay, you can bring in that brachialis and make sure you can see how it's wrapping around and diving down here. And then we should have our biceps tendon coming off right there. And it should be kind of like a column almost going up and down. And see how these are pretty much straight across from each other. And then we're going to have another muscle that wraps around. This is called the coneus muscle. Right there. And so we can probably, you can see how the styloid process is like that. So this ulna should be kind of straight. So I'm just going to go from all angles, make sure it's straight. And then, and we want to keep the that rigidity of the ulna, but we can boost things up around it like these extensor tendons. Right? And then the we need a flat edge pretty much for the top of your hand or the back of your hand. And we'll get into hands another day for sure. Alrighty. All right, so yeah, I think that arm looks 100% better for sure. Right, just giving a little bit more of the head of the anterior. Which is going to attach on each side of your chromium process. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like a box without a back end. And so let me over accentuate that for you. So it says box right here. And you should have a head coming this way, a head coming from that corner, a head coming from this way, and a head from this corner. And then it's, was it pentultimate tendons? So then you'll have a bunch of connections. You can smooth that out. You can see how much more dimensionality we have to this, to this deltoid. Alrighty, so let's take a look. And so that's the arm you brought in, right? And that's the arm that we got now. So well, let's see what else we can fit in here. Let's kind of fix this rib cage. I'm going to smooth all that out. Okay. So whenever you're this bulky, you should see the end of the rib cage, which is also those serratus muscles, those little fingers that everybody loves to sculpt. And then the lat should be coming out from that. Okay, so you should have the end of your rib cage diving behind our lats. All right, is anyone learning anything out there? Huh? Who's out there right now? Is anyone out there? Jeez. I need some energy, you guys. I could have sworn I heard fucking yawning. All right. Millions of dollars of information, and ain't nobody saying shit. I mean, come on, peeps. Come on. All right, so we got the lat, and it's pretty much going to split the side of our rib cage right here. And so you can see now we have rib cage and then lat. And we might need to extend the torso a bit so we can get that done. And if you're just joining the stream, this is Ryan Frazier's, Sabertooth, and we're just going through it and kind of helping him out a little bit. Okay. Thank you, Leo. Sometimes I gotta yell into the void. It's just what I do, right? Right. So we've got all that going on. The crotulus maximus, and then we're going to bring this oblique around. Okay. All right, I appreciate that, Leo. I'm glad you're sculpting along. That's good news. All right. So again, let's bring this lat out and make sure that it is a separate shape from our actual rib cage that's going behind the lat. Okay. And then your obliques are coming from your 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th rib. I'm just going to approximate it for right now. I would use a totally different method besides just eyeballing it, which you can find in my course, which will ensure that you have the best proportions and attachments and originations you could possibly have. Okay. And again, the oblique is coming from underneath the lat. The lat's going over it. That come down, rib cage, and obviously this pec is a little bit too. We only worked on one side, which is this side. Okay, and also let's mark in the middle line, and let's talk about abs. All right, so we need to have our costal cartilage. It needs to be a little bit, needs to go up into there, come out this way. And it's important to have this down so that you can block in your abs a little bit more effectively. And it just looks good to have a nice rib cage. All right, so just fucking do it. All right, look at that. Looks way better. All right, so there's no such thing as an 8-pack. I don't want to see those anymore. Okay? I'm sick of seeing 8-packs underneath the rib cage. I don't want to see it. So there are a 6-pack. That's all you can have. That's your actual abs, your real abs. And then the 8th is on top of that. They're fake abs, faux abs, false abs. So they should be on top of your costal cartilage, not below, right? Let's put in a traditional 8-pack that I see. You got 1, you got 2, and you got 3, and then you got this. That doesn't look real at all. Okay? So your abs, your fake abs, should be on top of your costal cartilage here. Creating this form. And I don't want to see it all the way out here. Okay? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Right there. That's where your fake abs are going to be. And then you're going to have your actual 6-pack. Right? These lines should be oblique and then straightening out. So we should have something like that. And you notice that my abs aren't all this wide. Stop sculpting it like that, people. It's going to be a abdominis rectus. Right? It's going to have its own area. And then we're going to have that. Okay? And I don't want to see another line down here. Okay? I don't want to see that anymore. Right around here, there's hardly ever a line. It's just a keg. And then you have the crotchius maximus. Okay? This is the way you should be sculpting abs. False abs, and then a 6-pack. A 4-pack with a keg. Okay? So it should be on top of your ribs right here. I swear to God, man, y'all people just like mark shit in here, and then you give me an 8-pack. I don't want to see that. Okay? Grow up. So we're going to bring this around. Make sure that looks a little bit better. You can bring that down and around. Tyrannosaurus rectus. Sounds like a big asshole. Xiphoid process right there. Smooth, 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 smooth. Okay, so you can see rib cage. We have the abs as its own thing. It's not all the way across. We can add this flat bit of the abdominals, or I'm sorry, the obliques right here. Coming down. We're gonna have this little ledge right there. Yeah. Alvin Serrano Cortez. I just wish someone would sculpt a Sabertooth. That's not the costume you described. Then what costume do you want, brother? Huh? What costume you want? And give us a link. Put a link in the chat, Alvin. Alrighty. So we've got something like that. Right? So we got a much more believable mid-torso going on than what we came in with. And again, I want to thank Ryan for letting me critique this. And if you're watching this, Ryan, when I'm yelling, I'm not yelling at you, brother. All right? I appreciate you, brother. Yelling at those other people. Okay? You know who I'm talking about. All right? So now we've got some better abs, right? There's plenty of things that we can do to this, but again, we're just going over basic forms. We're not worried about proportions or anything like that for right now, because this isn't my piece. But on my piece, I make sure all that's there. You know what I'm saying, brother? So here we're just sculpting an anatomy, and then you can kind of move it around and make it look like whatever you want it, you know. Do your proportions after that. Alrighty. We're just going to build in there. Bring that around. Smooth that out. We're going to have the just going to complete this iliac crest, or anterior, what is it? Posterior, superior iliac spine. And we're just going to kind of just sketch in these lumbars. Let's see. Let's see what Alvin really, really wants. All right, we can go Ultimate Comics. Okay, let's see. And I swear, if this is some porn site, I'm going to thank you later. Do you have, is there Gabriel Del Lotto was, is there a better picture of this? Do you have a better Better one. Wolverine's Sabertooth. No, I didn't. So you don't like this one. Are you looking for the long sleeve one? You gotta give me a better picture than that, brother. You can give me a better picture than that. I mean, come on, guy. Man, you got millions of people watching right now. Yeah, I need you to bring the greatest entertainment you can possibly bring, Alvin. ZBHO Dojo demands it. So we've got that. We didn't work on this side. But let's end the stream with a little trapezius action. All right, so it's a little flat here. This should be going to the chromium process. Most of the meat. Here, just give me the keywords, Alvin, of what I should be looking for. All right, and then this is going to come around, and you need that. I know you got fur over this, but the muscle underneath is what the fur is laying on top of. So it'd be pretty valuable for you to put in this 7th cervical vertebra right here. Alrighty. So we've got that. And then we've got the traps going over and ending on the last thoracic vertebra, which is the 19th vertebra. And coming down. Yeah, we're definitely going to be hanging out, brother. Right? And so that's coming down. It should be interacting with your lumbars, right? So we put this. So by the time the lumbars get up here, they should be pretty much gone. What I'm going to do is mark in a line for the back so it doesn't get all squiggly on us. Yeah, Leo, we'll be definitely hanging out for sure. I want to get that Batman on its final sketch phase by tonight so I can finish it next week. Have that right there. And we need to have that hook. Then have this come down. That's the end of the spine of our scapula. Right there. Alrighty. And, oops. Okay. And so we'll have it has symmetry. All right. So we'll have the end of the spine of the scapula, teres major, and then the lat's going to interact with this because the serratus muscles are going to come around and attach to each one of these ribs, right? So it's attaching to the rib, not underneath or in between like the costal muscles. Or intercostal muscles, I'm sorry. They're actually grabbing directly onto each rib. And there's plenty more we could definitely do with that. So let's head over to the front desk. All right, 365. I appreciate you following the stream. If you're watching this, okay, if you're watching this, there's a 68% chance that you are not subscribed to the channel. Why? Because I look at my analytics, and I know that you're watching this right now, getting millions of dollars of information, and you haven't followed or subscribed. I'm waiting. Click it. Click. It's just right there. Just get your lazy ass hand, grab that mouse, or get your lazy thumb and press that subscribe button. And then after that, you won't be lazy anymore to me. You'll be a champion. All right? Look at that. Alfier, a fucking champion. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very, very much. See, that's the type of energy I'm looking for. That's the type of energy that I'm looking for. All right? This stream is full of millions of dollars of information that you can carry on with you in your career. You can interact with me. You can send me your sculpts. And who knows? Maybe I'll critique it. Depends how long you've been a champion. How long have you been a part of the ZBHO dojo? We'll see. We'll see. All right. So I'd like to thank Ryan Fraser again for allowing me to work on his sculpt. Before we leave, let's take a look at what we have. It's going to be weird because I've worked on this leg and this side mostly. But let's go in here and let's just get both of these sides so we can see. And then let's go back to what we got. We didn't even touch the face, right? And so this is what we came in with. So fix the abs. You know, we gave him an 8-pack or an 8-pack without really giving him one. We probably would extend down so we can get a little bit deeper on the pubic synthesis because this looks like a really, really short hip. But other than that, we added a whole lot more dimensionality to this arm and to this forearm. And the overall shape of the rib cage. You can see it's a little flippy floppy here and there, and we have serratus muscles where the lat should be, right? So that's where the lat should be, and you're putting serratus muscles on there. And so just spend a little bit of time. You can either take my course, you can take Scott Eaton's course, or you can just do a little bit of study on your own, so you can kind of see where these things are originating and going to. In the end, you'll always have to be doing your own research and your own studies to really fully understand anything that's being taught to you. So, I hope this stream helped. I'd like to thank Alfier, or Alfer _ and 365 for subscribing. And we'll definitely catch you next time at the ZBHO Dojo. Definitely let people know about the stream. All right? We want champions. We want ZBHO dojos all over the nation and the world. So make sure you like and subscribe and you follow. Like and subscribe and follow.
Can you feel that? Do you want to be the best? Do you? You want to take balls and turn them into champions? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to go through Keyshot, Marmoset, Unreal? Look, more balls, all types of balls. And now what is it? It's a superhuman earthworm named Jim. All of this, look, feet. How many tutorials have you seen that go over feet and laser guns within the same tutorial? None. And now, got him. All of this, dragons, female anatomy, male anatomy, ninja swords. What else do you want? You want something magical? I'll even teach you how to sculpt magic. Now you need to sign up for this course right now. Go up to the XMD Academy and sign up for character creation for collectibles by Spicer McLeroy now.